Hacker podcast.
Thank you, Zoom, for that warm introduction. My name is David Smook, the founder and CEO of Hacker and today we're doing This Week on Planet Internet. And joining me is the podcast host recently in the Netherlands, Amy Tom.
Hello.
And on the other side of the world in Hanoi, we have Kian Dow.
Hi. Why am I clapping? Sorry.
I always clap for myself when I start a podcast.
That's
a very
true.
natural
I should clap for myself. Yeah. I'm here.
It's called therapy.
Yeah, I clap for myself for everything I do.
So today, we're going to start with the most talked about tech company of the last 2 weeks. In a CNBC article, it's called "A Facebook Name Change Could Be a Great Idea or a Terrible One." I'm still in the headline here. Just look at Google, Apple, and more by Tom Huddleston Jr. And in this article, they kind of break down historical changes of related companies, starting with Google becoming Alphabet, Apple dropping Apple Computer from their name, Dunkin' dropping donuts, so kind of getting out of the tech industry, KFC removing fried from their name, and Philip Morris going up in smoke and becoming a bunch of subsidiaries and basically being a private equity company with their cigarette money. Weight Watchers becoming an acronym, the WWF taking down the WWE in a battle, if anyone remembers that. The wrestling organization used to be WWF, and then the World Wildlife Fund had a problem with that. So it's an interesting article to talk about the implications of such a well-known thing changing its name. I was drawn to it because like a company is kind of like the aggregate of the interactions with its customers and the world, and like, does it even matter if Google calls themselves Alphabet? Aren't they still Google? So there's like a battle of what happens, and then there's a battle of maybe they're right, and maybe if Dunkin' drops donuts, they'll sell more coffee because people don't think of them as just donuts. So, Amy, what did you think of the lessons here for name changing?
Yeah, that's really interesting because, when we talk about Google and Alphabet, the article basically tries to talk about how Alphabet and Google work because when you use Google, you're still using Google. And the average Google consumer doesn't even need to necessarily know that the Alphabet company is powering or behind Google because Google as a search engine is so prevalent and so popular that it didn't make a difference. But when we talk about Facebook, there's so many different ways that they make money that they try and integrate under the Facebook name right now that it's confusing. Like, they have their Facebook app, which obviously is like how it all started, and then they also are putting their Facebook name more and more attached to WhatsApp and to their other products. So it's really interesting to see that they want to change the name as Google and Alphabet did, and yet maybe get rid of like the Facebook brand altogether. I don't know. Weird. Interesting.
Do you hear that background music?
Is that me?
Sounds pretty good. I think the Facebook one, it's like they want to be more diverse, but then also like I got notifications to try and merge my Instagram and Facebook inbox with Messenger. And it was like trying to cross-platform message. And it's like, wait a minute, that doesn't feel right. That feels like you're abusing the market share you have in two apps and forcing an individual function into a new third app that we don't want. So I think that one's bothering me a little bit. Kian, you have a good sense of taste. Do you think Facebook can diversify? Because visually they put like the little Facebook logo below Instagram, and they said that within WhatsApp, like you were saying, Amy, they put Facebook logo in there more. But do you think like a new brand is the right move for them?
Well, actually, I think that the new rebranding of Facebook is not entirely directed to change Facebook, the app, the social media platform itself, but rather than the corporate, like the big company. So what I think is that they will still keep Facebook, the app, alongside with Instagram and WhatsApp, but the company, the mother company, will change, and that's an interesting thing because I feel like they decided all that within the span of 1 to 2 weeks, and just like very different from examples in the article like Apple or Google or WWF. It seems like Facebook is doing this to tone down like all the crisis that it has been dealing with for the past 2 weeks. And so yeah, I'm not too sure whether it will be a successful or a terrible decision. I'm not too sure, but one thing I can feel for sure is that Facebook, the app, will not change, or not change yet.
So let's go back to the Apple example, because the Google example is like a whole different name. They're trying to say there's a whole new parent. Google's so diverse. When you say Google, you think search and you don't think of all the other Nest and every other company they own within there that does something totally different than search. But the Apple computer one, I think, is really relevant because they were pigeonholed into being a computer company. Facebook is a little bit pigeonholed into the Facebook app and definitely into social media. And now they're saying the metaverse is different than social media, and we're going to be a metaverse company. So to get out of a pigeonhole, you can try and this Apple did it very clever, go shorter. Instead of saying we're Apple Computer, we're just Apple and we make any type of great hardware. And whatever you associate with that feeling of the computer, you can associate that with your phone, and we're bigger than that. So I think that's more, if I was in their room, that's more of what they're going for, of saying they come up with a name that has to become bigger than the Facebook app, even if Facebook doesn't change.
But is Facebook going to change as like the app? Because if they are trying to incorporate everything into the metaverse, are they still going to call Facebook Facebook, or are they going to change it?
I think the comparison would be from Ready Player One. The Oasis would be Facebook, and then what is it, Inu, or the next version of it would be what they're trying to do here. Yeah, but I also think if you take a look at Facebook, they have pretty big problems right now. The other things that are leaking in these papers were the number of young users is going down, and they're very concerned about it. And it was just more evidence that that's why another reason why to buy some of these younger apps that are getting more young people, and the threat of TikTok, having more market share there, and the Apple changes to the phone drastically reduced their ad revenue. So if this company is going to continue to grow the rate it's growing, it's probably going to happen outside of the Facebook app. Is probably what they're thinking of, hey, we're bigger than Facebook. We're the whole metaverse. So the next article, go ahead.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But like, it's interesting because different from like other corporates, this move from Facebook seems like a very Hail Mary queen of a move, like just trying to get out of a desperate situation. With Apple and maybe Google, they have like a vision. They have like a long-term plan to develop into a into a corporate that can handle like everything that have they can like they are technology corporates. But like for Facebook, with this feel like a move just to get out of the image that Facebook is targeting. It is not dealing good with harassment and bad publicity. And they're saying in this article that I really like from CNN Business, that says a fresh coat of paint won't fix the underlying issues outlined in the document. So even though Facebook is trying very hard to rebrand itself, will it be able to get out of the bad publicity that it has been dealing with in recent weeks? We don't know, but yeah, it's definitely a very different motive compared to Apple and Google or Alphabet.
That's a good point. So building on it, the next article, I'm a branding expert. Here's what Facebook's reported name change really signals. rebranding Facebook shows the company cares a lot more about Wall Street than consumers. So I think that's a good point of just where is this coming from? So you think the crisis, I guess, affects the stock price, and they're trying to move the stock price. Here's a good point. Building a monolithic brand is hard. It's easier to have, 20 horses in the race than one. Nike, how many things can Nike be? How many verticals can Nike be in? I mean, Amazon's amazing, starting at online books and going to online everything, but really you start with online books because it was the easiest thing to do online, to sell online, and then you're associated with online. And
they pivoted pretty early on in their journey. And the thing that's going to be interesting with the Facebook pivot is that Facebook has been around and so established as a social media company for so long that it's going to be so hard for them to pivot like that.
Yeah, yes, just so many people. Amazon impacted people that bought things online. Facebook impacted like everyone online, almost, which is still. Will it become a trend? Rename yourself to reinvent yourself. You are what you say you are. You're a superstar. All right, a more agile consumer brand, yada, yada. Let's move on to something a little more fun. How about some wild speculation about what the name of Facebook could become? Let's see here. I got a slogging story from our Hacker Noon Slack. Hung said, new phone, who dis? Richard said, Houdini. Oh, we have Amy here. She can read her line.
I thought that it would be called the Metabook or the Faceverse.
Could you please make a case for either?
I mean, it's only natural, is it not? I prefer it to be Faceverse because I really am into that. But Metabook would also be pretty great.
That's good.
What do you think, Kian? Are you team Metabook or team Faceverse?
I don't know. Like I feel like it could be more. And I'm just kidding. I think both names are pretty cool. Metabook. It's my favorite one. Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, like
I'll see you on the
suits
Metabook then.
Yeah. And I mean, it suits the current trend of everything having its own metaverse, and so it makes sense, right? And it still keeps the book in the name. Yeah.
All right, then Katarina came in strong with Facebook. No takers.
I also love that.
My big suggestion was the Facebook.
To revert back to where we were previously. Ooh.
Yep. It'll be a user graph like this. Right back down. We'll be right back where we started.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got some Oasis. The scandal continues. Oh, can you teach us this new word?
Chuggy. Facebook is
chuggy
now, you know? We don't like it. It's not cool. It's for old people. It's behind the times.
How do you define
only interested
old?
In the Metabook now.
Yeah. Okay, that comes out so naturally from your mouth, Amy. Like,
right?
Go to the Metabook.
It's perfect.
Go to the Metabook. I'm on Metabook. Did you add my Metabook account? It's so natural. Like,
what about
listen to the podcast?
Faceverse, I prefer honestly because
that's
it's so funny.
Yeah, that's a tongue twister, like Faceverse, like not a tongue twister, but like very hard for people with long tongue to pronounce it.
I think
compared to Metabook?
Facebook just goes for metaverse, and they just say that's our word now. Google's like, we're the
and then they claim metaverse.
Yeah.
They could.
That's why they're taking so long, and they're trying to plan as many metaverse stories as possible. Then the big announcement is they're called Metaverse. Boom.
But then
First.
they'll only be limited to metaverse and everything around it. They won't be able to expand and grow in the future, like
But
10
the
years from
metaverse
now.
is everything.
You don't know yet. Technology is always revolving, evolving. I mean, like growing and changing itself. You don't know. Maybe there's something even bigger than metaverse in the
A
future.
recent article from The Hill. Here's Zuckerberg's quote on the subject. Working with others, we're developing what is often referred to as the metaverse, a new phase of interconnected virtual experiences using technology like virtual and augmented reality. So he wants it all. If you're in 3D in the cloud somewhere, he wants it to be his metaverse. I think is the intention of that quote. Anyway, let's move on to something pretty related. We ought to get better at recognizing dark patterns. This is an article by The Markup, republished in Hacker Noon. You can listen to it on Hacker Noon. And this is kind of like, why do people get paid a lot in UX? Sometimes it's to help the user, sometimes it's to deter the user. You know, if you think about subscription-based businesses, losing a customer is just as important as gaining a customer. So some of the times you'll get these incentives where these bigger companies are starting to bleed customers, and they'll start to build patterns that make it hard to get away or hard to do what you want. So hard to unsubscribe, hard to unpay are kind of good examples, but there's smaller examples too of just like how to give information you don't want to give, or how to be misled into giving information you don't need to give. And it starts with trying to cancel a kid's app that she didn't realize she was paying $50 a month for. So, you know, it's typical journalism of a nice anecdote to kind of do the example of the story in the beginning, but then it gets a little more fun, where they're starting to say, okay, we're going to go through 2 examples of each and say which one is the dark pattern here. In the first one, you get a 10% discount if you sign up for our email newsletter field. Then call to action is get my 10% off. And then the way to get out of this pop-up is no, I don't like paying more than I need to. Which, like, who wants to agree, no, I don't like paying more than I need to. But in order to get out of this flow, that's a button you have to click. And you have to have a moment where you read those words, accept those words, and have to click through those words in order to get what you want, which is not to have this pop up. I don't want to have to agree. I'm someone who, quote, likes paying more than I need to.
And if I can add to that, like in terms of design, you can see that the hierarchy of design is like being recognizable. It's important. And so interestingly, they put that text right there, like in very tiny font and at the bottom of the box. And so they want you to think that your decision is not as important as the I'll get my 10% off. Right. And so that's really tricky.
And it's not even a button.
Yeah.
Like it's a casual link.
Right. Yeah. It's not even recognized as a equal button as the get my 10% off.
This is more
so tricky.
How you measure can get really, really bad, because if you tell someone your job is to increase email subscribers, okay, that's your only job. Look through the keyhole and do that. The upper pattern is the correct solution, the logical solution, maybe not correct, but the logical one they'll reach because it will hit their goal. This dark pattern will get more people to enter their email because many people will enter their email believing you can't get to the next screen without it. Then you look at the proper UX or the fair or honest UX, sign up and no thanks are equal size buttons. And it's yes or no. Do you want this or not? Yeah. It's clear this is a binary choice you can make. And it's just, you know, I wish all the sites treated the visitor with this level of respect.
Equality. No thanks button, lives matter. Right.
All right, let's move to a next one. Oh, interesting. Sorry.
Yes, this one is my favorite one. The nagging dark pattern.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very psychological.
Audio listeners out there, the first one says, allow access to your contacts to find friends on chat app. Button 1, yes. Button 2, no. Equal size. Next one, allow access to your contacts to find friends on chat app. Button 1, yes. Button 2, not now. What do you guys think of this one? Which one is the dark pattern?
It's the not
Definitely
now.
the not now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Um,
like you're asking a question and you're saying no or not now. And I love that they call this nagging. Like as if it's your mom doing the UX. Sorry, mom.
Yeah,
it,
not
it,
now.
gi-
It's
it gives
such an
you,
inevitability. It's like it's definitely going to happen later. Is the implication?
yeah, yeah, it gives you like a the future possibility of being able to accept it somehow. And but yeah, I like it. I like this example, nagging.
Should we keep on going? Do we want to do all 6? Amy is signaling no. We are going to skip ahead to. We'll try which one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right.
I also love the sneaky check-in item and how when you're doing the checkout process, just like a casual little $50 line item. It's no biggie, but you can opt out if you want to. That's great UX.
So it says you purchase a new TV online and go to the checkout page. So the first one says $400 for the TV, $50 for the setup check, and then there's a grayed out font goes down by about 50%, and it says opt out in tiny grayed out words. Then you get the full bar across, total $450. The other way is you do the 400, and then the tiny grayed out text, you say add $50 instead of default adding it. I mean, this person probably got a raise on this decision. They were probably like, holy shit, the lower gray font can be the opt-out one instead of the opt-in. Boom. Pay for your salary. How many more? Because this is like across all TVs on the site. Like if Amazon would do something like this, it would be a lot of cash. That's a high volume. All right, let's move to some higher quality hardware as opposed to $40 TVs with $50 setup fees. This one is from apple.com. It says game-changing MacBook Pro with M1 Pro and M1 Max delivers extraordinary lowercase performance and battery life and features the world's best notebook display. Whew. A lot of superlatives coming out of the people who made it. Oh, let's just read the adjectives once. Extraordinary. That's all I got. Okay.
Best.
Best.
Best
And game changing too. Game changing.
Mm-hmm.
Like right up front.
The new MacBook Pro features a 1080p camera, the best audio system in a notebook, and the most advanced connectivity ever in a MacBook Pro. Kian, you seem to care a lot about what Apple does and value in the world.
I mean, I'm really like if you read the most advanced connectivity ever in a MacBook Pro, like it's very funny because it is Apple who decided to remove all the connectivity, like all the connecting ports on a MacBook Pro in 2016 in the first place. And then now when they decide to bring it back, they also bring back the most advanced connectivity ever in a MacBook Pro. Like, like just show how hard and how great they can go with marketing their products.
Wait, what do you mean? What ports are they bringing back?
So in 2015, you'll get the USB ports, you get SD card ports, and you'll get HDMI ports. In 2016, all of them are removed. Just the USB-C ports are there.
Are you calling it the McRib marketing strategy?
No, I'm just saying. I mean, it's a great marketing strategy because for people who don't know, like who haven't been a fan of Apple for years, they will think that this is the greatest connectivity MacBook Pro ever. But it's literally just the 2015 version with a few upgrades.
Are they bringing back the HDMI port?
Yeah, they do. Like
and the SD card slot.
Bring back, yes, everything. They bring back.
So you're telling me that I bought a MacBook Pro last year so that I could use a dongle for life?
Yeah, I
hate this.
I hate this too, but like for people who bought the MacBook Pro last year, like they are really crying right now because of all the dongles and
That's
all
me.
the crappy,
I'm crying.
crappy. I know. But
No.
but yeah. But regardless of all the showcasing of the product, the new MacBook Pro, it's really a game-changing product. Like from my designer, like under my designer eye, because of all the ports, it gives you great connectivity and much more convenience, like in when designing and importing and exporting your work. And then their new chips, the M1 Pro and M1 Max, is really like they are really powerful. Imagine, David, you are editing an 8K footage. In baby words, you are editing. You are like it. You are loading hacker.com. It's very heavy. Like in the
Hackernews.com isn't heavy. No way.
At the beginning of its time, it's pretty heavy, and
we did have
sometimes
software,
yeah sometimes you have to wait about 1 to 2 minutes for the page to load. So but like think of it as a product or a work. With this new M1 Pro and M1 Max, that 1 to 2 minutes transfer to 1 to 10 to 20 seconds, or even maybe faster. Like that's how powerful the chip is. Like it reduces the time of exporting and editing your work significantly. And that's why it has a very very beefy look. You can see that it has a very thick bottom part. It's where all the magical happens there.
You
all
say
the magic
jump in
happens
front?
there. Yeah, like the body of the Mac, it's very thick. And like a lot of people have been shitting on the new design of the MacBook Pro, but honestly, I don't think it's a big problem because of how much it can give you.
I would rather have a thicker MacBook Pro and my SD card
Right?
slots back minus the dongle.
I know.
I hate the dongle
I know.
life.
And they removed the touch bar. I feel like like I have the touch bar right here and I barely even use it.
Yeah, it seems like the last
use
one on the MacBook Pro, they were like, "Hey, we're so Apple, we can go simpler and simpler. We can cut out that. We can get this down to 2 ports. You're not going to need anything." It's like I don't know. Yeah. And then now they're going back to like these are what users want. It's the dongle is annoying.
But isn't it interesting? I feel like this is the first time Apple ever they decided to go back to a previous design with the much wanted features on a product. Like they have been so stubborn in releasing products, like from iPhone to AirPods to iPads to MacBooks. But then this time they decided to go back to the 2015, the ever popular design of the MacBook, and they decided to bring back all the beloved features and improved from there. And I think that's a very
think about like a product roadmap over decades. It's kind of like if you have a big release, you go for something new and original, and then you have pushback, and then you go back to the one that was working before, and you just iterate on it. Then the next one, you could alternate and like just take design risks that way, where you're like, this is going to get a small win because it gives everyone what they wanted, improvements on the one that worked well. I think this also makes me think that the computer hardware market is deviating a bit towards the middle. Like going back to an old design means it's more replicable and other people could do it. So like, even if this sells well, it kind of gives me some encouragement that the laptop market or hardware device market won't be as consolidated to Apple in the future. Like this, it seems more replicable, so other people could probably compete a little better. What do you think? How do you think will Apple have less market share in the next 5-10 years?
I don't know, because like the draw of being an Apple user, at least for the MacBook Pro, definitely is like the artist vibe or the creator vibe.
I mean, look how
And
cool
you
this
just
guy
really,
is. Anyone that can see
yeah,
the screen.
exactly.
This
Like,
is,
look
yeah.
at his big camera, look at his editing software. He's got it all. Like, that's the Apple user, the one that needs to use the Photoshop and the After Effects at the same time. And I don't know if anyone will be able to compete with the design functionality for artists, you know? I feel like the like Microsoft or like, you know, Lenovo, whatever, all of the different hardware providers of PCs are really, really good at targeting like developers and people who need that kind of functionality in their laptop. But I think Apple still and maybe will forever corner the market on designers.
Yeah, designers and creative, like anything that, because they also provide one of the best displays out there. Their XDR display is one of the best out there in the market, and they decided to bring it to the new MacBook Pro, and so that steps up their game a little bit more. But yeah, but this is just the pro lineup for the Apple users. They also have the Air lineup, which is more suitable for the general public, and that's where I think they can go with the trend, and um, they can change and they can freshen up their look, just how people like it, just how, like, just to fit in with the trend, just so they can be what's the word, like pudgy, peggy, Amy, uh, to keep up with the trend.
Chuggy.
Like, oh yeah, puggy, that's the word.
Chuggy.
Power, it's in the air. That's the slogan for MacBook Air. All right, let's move to some future technologies here on Hacker Noon. This story by Adrian Book is entitled 10 Future Technologies That Aren't in the Public Eye Yet. You can listen to it on Hacker Noon, and I'm going to be honest, I learned some new technologies. I will read through the list of 10 here, and then maybe we could say which ones we're excited about. Femtosecond projection 2 photon lithography is number 1, obviously. Number 2, Li-Fi. Number 3, energy storing bricks. Number 4, robotic bees. What's that show called again? Dark Mirror?
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror.
That is
They had a
exactly
real
like Black
robotic
Mirror.
bees.
Yeah.
I remember
Not
the
get a
exact
robotic
episode.
bees reference in an article like this.
Yeah. He even referenced that Black Mirror episode, Hated
Yes.
in the Nation.
Number 5, unnamed dynamic neural networks technology. Number 6, seawater fuel. Number 7, my personal favorite, 20-minute water. We'll get into that later. Number 8, zero knowledge proof. Number 9, YOLO V5. Number 10, 4D printing. Boom. All right. I will do my favorite first, just this 20-minute water. So basically what it is, I'll read it here. All one needs to do is soak a piece of cotton, which is highly conductive, for 20 minutes in an inexpensive solution containing carbo nanotubes and silver nanowires, then connect it to 2 electric wires to pass a little current through it. So basically you soak it and you run it through electricity, boom, your water goes from dirty to clean. So you kind of have the electricity part, I don't know how you get that in
just
the wild.
With a 20-minute soaked cotton ball in water. Like, what? Why is it specifically 20 minutes? Why can't I soak it for 10 minutes and it'll still work?
I don't know.
So
There's a 20-minute read here over on Stanford about high-speed filter uses electrified nanostructures to purify water at low cost.
So basically scientific, so we gotta believe them.
You don't have to. You can read the whole thing. I won't believe it until I taste clean water. Once I do.
I bet it's no different than stream water or like water.
Dirty cotton ball
like maybe
water?
But I think it's a very cool technology and a very it's foreseeable. It's
Yeah, and I think you should
foreseeable. Like
do
it's
your own research at home and get some cotton balls and put them in water and see if you can recreate this experience.
I think may have done that in school, or something similar, like turning something dirty to something cleaner, not drinkable but cleaner. But I think it's a very cool thing. It's definitely in the near future. I can see that compared to other technology in the lift, and it's very beneficial for developing countries and places where people need access to clean water for daily use. I love it.
Yeah, that one was super interesting. My favorite one though was energy storing bricks. That is wild. So they're basically saying that, like, you know, regular red bricks that are used to build houses or walls or whatever are being used to store energy by heating them to 160 degrees and then vaporizing their surface with hydrochloric acid. Woo! And then with a compound called EDOT, and then that way the red bricks will store energy, and then when your house is ready to use that energy, it'll just take it from the bricks. Crazy.
That's so cool. So solar panels for bricks would be like the layman's pitch. Like your house itself is an actual energy storing and absorbing and conducting.
And it's renewable. Very
Yeah.
cool. Wow.
Smart homes,
So like I'm
but
curious,
make
like
it bricks.
what would the brick look like? What would the brick look like? Like
It's
will
just a
it
regular red brick.
eventually become like a okay, but like in the future, like will it eventually
Mm.
become like a tiny dot or like a stone or like a marble size thingy? You know, like imagine like a marble sized brick that can power like a whole building or that's amazing. Whew.
Technology. Which one did you like, Kian?
Oh, my favorite one is Li-Fi. I think David, I think it's pronounced Li-Fi, right? Or Li-Fi. I mean it's
Lindsay?
Li-Fi. I mean it's light. I think it's Li-Fi, right? Okay.
I think it
it
could be
aims to
Li-Fi
you.
then, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, like a brother to Wi-Fi. It aims to use light to transmit information from point A to point B. And I don't know, it just brings up the whole game of Wi-Fi 4G and 5G. It just makes everything faster, and it says right here up to 100 gigabytes per second, which is in theory 5 times faster than 5G, and 5G is already very fast. And that can be very beneficial in the future, especially in hospitals, in the medical department, or in technology, but basically everywhere. And it's using it's not using natural light. It's using light from LED bulbs, and so that can be pretty convenient. Like considering we're already using a bunch of light in our environment, but
Yeah.
one of the downside is that it can interfere with natural light, which is the sunlight. And so I'm curious to how they can come up with a solution to that. But
Yeah, it
yo,
also says
wow.
like there's talks of using it for unmanned underwater vehicles, which is crazy.
Mhm.
Like
But like,
what? What
is
unmanned
it,
underwater vehicles?
I know, but like light is broken or like it's twisted in the water environment. Like, how will they be able to cope with that and bring that to their advantage? Oh,
But
it's crazy just to think about it.
Amy brings up a good point about what current unmanned underwater vehicles are in existence today. Is that a common thing? Are we sending machines like?
Do we have
I
just
guess
a lot of
the submarine
and topography?
secret
like
spy
sending
submarines
machines?
down there?
Yeah.
What are they
Like,
doing?
I bet Jeff Bezos has like 1,000 of them, like all unmanned.
We build our
So-
energy storing bricks in our underwater unmanned vehicles where the Li-Fi powers the vehicle. This is the
And we
way
can
of the
drink the
future.
water. We can just
And we can
we
drink the
just
water
stick
through our
stick
organic
the
cotton
straw.
balls.
Yeah, that sounds like a
I think
future.
it's called Atlantis, right?
Oh,
Is that
yes,
what they
yes,
do
yes.
down there? They're
No,
really
it's
just
called
an
actually the
advanced city.
Metabook.
Yeah.
It's not real. Everything is in the Macbook.
All right, guys, that's been fun talking with you all today. We are going to see everyone on the Metabook at our Facebook Faceverse event. I am David Smook with Hacker Noon, and Amy, Kian, would you like to say goodbye to all of our, does anyone listen to this podcast? Are we still doing it?
I think so, yeah. Sometimes people do.
Yeah.
Occasionally, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
Well,
to
good.
all my
Hey,
best
wise words
friends
to
for
wisdom
being
that?
here. I love you all. All right. Goodbye.
Hacker Noon podcast.